Hello, hello, all you people out there on YouTube land. It is us, Fat and Angry. He's fat and I'm angry. And today we have a special guest. We have... Okay, we're not going to consider Fat's vast gases as a special guest. Today, as a special guest, we have Gonzo, someone we've been doing a lot of Cards Against Humanity with. And so we decided to bring him in on this subject. And today's subject is shit that pisses us off about modern video games. Yes, as much as we enjoy our modern video games, there's a lot of shit that we miss from the good old days and a lot of stuff from the modern stuff that pisses us the fuck off. Does anyone have something to start us off on?
Well, I'll go ahead and start, since we were recently talking about fighting games. One thing I really hate in fighting games is whenever they make a sequel, they usually take out about a third to a quarter of the cast, and they replace them with new characters. Just fucking leave them in. You don't have to include them in the story mode, but for two-player or just basic tower practice and stuff like that, just fucking leave them in. Somebody played them. That was somebody's main. You're ruining the fucking game for them by taking them out.
Can we think of anything from like an older fighting game where like they did also take out the characters when they made a next one?
Well, let's talk about Street Fighter 2 compared to Street Fighter 3. Almost nobody made it into that one.
You just have like Ryu.
It was like Ryu and
Chun-Li.
No, Chun-Li. She was like in the second installment of Part 3.
Really?
It wasn't until they kept upgrading the game that they started bringing old characters back. Because, as cool as some of the new ones were,
they weren't the older ones.
Yeah, that's what people would practice on. And, people don't mind learning new shit, but they want their fallbacks. That's how you ease into the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, you think about their Street Fighter 2 Champions Edition brought in the final bosses, like the 4 final bosses, so technically you can consider them new characters. Super Street Fighter 2 brought in...
Cammy, DJ, Feelong, and T-Hawk.
Yeah. And then...
Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo added Akuma.
Yeah.
Really? Akuma was in that one.
He was the boss, and if you knew a code, you could play as him.
For some reason, I thought Akuma was in the prequel games, like the...
Oh, he was in the Street Fighter Alphas, too, but he started off in...
Yeah, supposedly the Street Fighter Alphas take place before the events of the Street Fighter games.
It's between Part 1 and Part 2.
So, that's why Sagat still has his scar.
Right.
So, we got that. I know that in King of Fighters, I think they did that a lot. Every year they'd add newer and newer characters, because King of Fighters, I mean, you had King of Fighters 96, King of Fighters 97, King of Fighters 98.
Remember Art of Fighting, right?
Yeah, Art of Fighting, it had King of Fighters had Art of Fighting characters.
Well, King of Fighters was kind of like the SNK, big battle. Because, they pulled in, the characters from, what was it?
They pulled in characters from all sorts of franchises, but it was primarily Fatal Fury,
Art of Fighting,
and there's a third one that I can't pin down. But then, there's the Army team, which is essentially the... players from Metal Slug, and then Athena was a side-scrolling game.
Oh yeah, they also had the characters from Akari Warriors, I believe.
Yeah.
Who I never fucking recognized because they're not recognizable in the original games.
Yeah.
World of Heroes wasn't SNK, was it?
World Heroes was SNK.
Yeah, and I do believe a few of them have shown up, but don't quote me on that.
I don't remember any of them. the Hanzo character, but
maybe
I can't even remember that.
I remember Rasputin.
But, World Heroes was another game where, when they made the next ones, they would keep adding newer and newer characters.
The only one I remember from Art of Fighting is the dude that looks like a Steven Seagal reject.
But,
that would be Robert.
That's right, it was Robert.
But yeah, when they made with Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, and stuff, when they made the sequels, you got to keep, it's to my knowledge, most all of the original fighters, and they added new ones.
Yeah.
So the rosters kept growing. But you're right. That is an issue I've been seeing a lot in more modern games. You see, like they'll drop a lot of the characters.
Yeah, Soul Calibur is particularly notorious for this. They'll basically give a character somebody's old weapon, but they won't keep the old character around.
Like Symphonia, like, they bring in her daughter, which
Yeah.
is like the same moveset, same weapon.
Was that one Cassandra, or was that the little sister?
I don't remember for certain,
I
but
think it was like her daughter, but that kind of makes sense a little bit because like Soul Calibur is done by the same people that do Tekken, and it works the same way. Each subsequent number is supposed to be like further down the road.
See, that's what I like about Tekken, is their fucking story got too...
Like, you started off like the first Law character was like Martial Law, but then like in Tekken 3, like it takes place so many years after the original Tekken that now it's his son, Forest Law, who has the same moveset.
Or was it martial law?
No, Martial Law was the father. Forest Law was the son.
Okay.
But you gotta admit, Martial Law is a pretty badass name.
yeah.
Forest Law is not.
Well, like, when you do something like that, at least, like, a player can still basically have the moveset that they're familiar with. But let's say, like, in Mortal Kombat, the newest one, they introduced you to, like, some of the kids, some of the older cast, like Casey Cage is the daughter of Johnny and Sonya. And she's got a moveset that's kind of a hybrid of the two, plus some of her own moves. But if you're just, like, a Johnny Cage main, she's not going to fulfill all your needs.
But isn't Johnny Cage like still playable in the game?
He is in that one, but it's almost like they're setting up for a passing of the torch, and
They died in part 2, right?
Johnny Cage died in part 3, but was ultimately resurrected. If they were to make the next game, it seems like he may not be in there for the story mode, which is fine. But just, leave him in the fucking general roster so somebody who's, like, cut their teeth on him and wants to keep playing him.
I think the ones that are the biggest, like, I think the one franchise that's the biggest fucking criminal of this has to be Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom has gone and fucked itself hard. The first one had a pretty decent roster, but then again, the first one was an unofficial sequel to X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And then, then you get into Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which one could argue is the absolute best that series had to offer. Period.
Well, you could try to argue with it, but you're wrong if you don't think it's the best.
It's like, oh, it doesn't have the 3D graphics, though. Well, fuck your 3D graphics. You don't need that shit in this game. The game's fucking awesome.
I'll take an extra 20 characters over 3D graphics any day.
Not to mention that, the fighting's a lot, cleaner and more fast-paced because it is sprite-based graphics. When you go with, the 3D graphics, you get a lot of issues because, the games just can't render that shit that quickly because it's not a two-dimensional sprite. It's a whole fucking 3D model that's rendered on all sides.
Yeah. I don't like that these moves have become overly complicated when you do a move. Like Street Fighter. When you want to use a power hit, you use the heavy punch or heavy kick. If you want it to be a medium range attack, it's a medium range hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't need to press 3 buttons just to make sure this one move lands. That's what really pisses me off.
Well, they've always had characters with fucked up battle inputs. I still remember Balrog in the original Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, where all of his moves were charged based, which was bullshit because when you were fighting against him and he was the computer, he could just fucking lay into you like nobody's business. But then you try playing as him, and you can't do moves a third as quickly as he can.
Yeah, you had to fucking turtle with him, and that's not the way he fought.
It's no, he was extremely aggressive and in your face, but when you're playing as him, you're playing defensive as fuck. But going back to the Marvel vs. Capcom thing, you had so many characters in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Then when they go to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you get maybe
Half.
Yeah, maybe half of the characters. And then they add a few more in DLC, and then with the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And what was your biggest complaint? You had a major issue with that one.
Alright, so in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, there's 4 unlockable characters, and then there's 2 that you can download, which is Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, and Shuma Gorath from Marvel Comics. And for some reason, when they made the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, instead of having them immediately in the roster or unlockable, you had to download them, and it didn't fucking count if you had already downloaded them on the previous disc.
So you had bought the original game because for all you knew that was going to be the only version of the game released.
Right.
Because there was no saying like, hey, we're releasing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds. Be sure to stay tuned for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Because that'd be stupid. Because then no one would fucking buy Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Because everyone would just wait for the Ultimate Edition to come out.
Yeah.
And which they'd never make because the first version sold like shit because everyone's waiting for the next version to come out.
Yeah, unfortunately with Capcom, they have fucking trained us that the first release of a fighting game is not the final product because they're still fucking milking Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, they released like the Street Fighter 2 Anniversary Edition, which finally introduced characters like Evil Ryu and Violent Ken to the original Street Fighter 2 game.
Yeah. Now, the sprites on it look fucking good, but they don't quite match up the way they're supposed to, so it's still kind of awkward. But yeah, you know, they're still, like, finding new ways to fucking capitalize on Street Fighter 2, and they've released 10 fucking versions of that.
What do y'all think about Injustice 2?
I have not gotten to play it yet.
He's like, he's got Injustice 1.
I loved Part 1, so I'm actually very eager to play Part 2.
Did you like the mechanics and how it's set up to you play?
On Part 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Part 1. I thought it was badass. And, you know, I love all the new Mortal Kombat games. So,
but you're more than willing to buy the DLC if the game is good for, like, the Mortal Kombat games.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, when Mortal Kombat X became Mortal Kombat XL, they had a disc for Mortal Kombat XL, but they also just, like, did a patch upgrade on Mortal Kombat X, so anything you had previous downloaded was still there, and you got the updates.
Well, that's good. That's something that fucking Capcom should have done.
Right.
But a lot of games now, a lot of companies do that. They'll have the game, and then they'll tell you, well, you can get the season pass, so that you don't have to buy the downloads or the expansion packs because it'll already come with the season. Which is cool, but
in some degrees that is cool. In some cases, though, the season pass, it's like they're already trying to sell you on shit that hasn't been produced yet before it's even been produced. So something like Mortal Kombat, you know that they're gonna work on new characters and new stages.
Well, at least like the more recent Mortal Kombat's done by NetherRealm Studios, not the original ones done by Midway.
Right. So, you know, a season pass kind of makes sense for a fighting game. But, like...
The idea of, like, you already bought 2 DLC characters, and now the new version of the game with more characters comes out, but they expect you to spend more money to rebuy the same fucking characters you already bought for the older edition. It should just do what Mortal Kombat did and automatically fucking update it and throw them in the game. Instead, they expect you to buy the same fucking DLC twice for what equates to the same fucking game. That's stupid. That's fucking stupid, and that's bullshit, and I don't know why the fuck Capcom did it that way. I didn't believe you at first when you told me that. But you guys both bring up a good point. Season passes, this is something that I've never been a fan of. The idea of, like, just like you said, you're buying shit for a game that hasn't been made yet. You're spending upwards of the price of the game because, like, you know, it's like, would you like to get the game? And then the season pass is just going to be $59.99. Well, guess what? The fucking game was $59.99. It's like you're asking me, hey, you bought the game. Would you like to buy it some more?
Well, see, I've never had that happen. Whenever I buy a game, the season pass is at least like $40. So you're not paying a full price for a brand new game.
It depends on the game. Like Mortal Kombat Season Pass, I believe I had spent $20 on, and then they had a second line of DLC, which I also bought. But I didn't mind paying for it because, like, at the very least, what you were introduced to felt like a full game. Whereas, you know, a lot of these companies I've seen, it's almost like that they're locking away levels that they're already working on just so they can carve it up and sell it to you later.
Now, one that I heard was very guilty of this was Rage. Not Rage 2, which is coming out. Oh, yeah, by the way, we are recording this on the 11th of November. I need to fucking remember to do the date thing at the beginning of the videos. Anyway, so like Rage 2 is on its way out. It's not out yet, at least as far as I know it's not out yet.
I don't think I ever played that.
The first Rage came out, it was kind of like Borderlands, though not Borderlands. It was done by id Software, the same guys that did Doom. And it was moderately successful, but the one thing that got a lot more media attention than anything the game had to offer is what it didn't do. The game winds up for a big climax and then abruptly fucking stops. At least that's what all the reports that I read said. They said it just fucking stops dead before the big climax for no reason other than it can. And then the actual ending of the game was designed to come out as a DLC pack later.
Oh, like they did with Asura's Wrath.
Well, like that one was even worse because like Asura's Wrath, a lot of people liked it because it was like way over the fucking top. We're talking like it makes like Devil May Cry look like level-headed insane. Is like because if you've ever seen any gameplay from Asura's Wrath, he's like literally punching the finger of a giant god that's bigger than the entire planet at one point. There's like some crazy ass shit that goes on in that game. And then the game gets ready for the final chapter, and then it's like, see you next time, and it just fucking ends. And then the final chapter, or the final 2 chapters, were DLC. That is not cool. You do not fucking do that in a game.
Yeah, that is not okay. If you could think of a way to expand the story after the fact and you make a few new chapters, that's one thing. But when you purposely just, like, drop the paywall in a game, no. Another
game that did that was...
You're forgetting all the Battlefront games that their paywall dropped on.
I've never played any of the fucking story modes in the Battlefront games.
Yeah, I've never played any of the Battlefront games myself, so I can't actually comment on the DLC.
Actually, no, I've never played the Battlefront games, period. I've only played the Battlefield games, and I never played the story on those. I only played them online.
Yeah, so by all means, if you have some hate to spew on the microphone...
Get to spewing.
But see, here's
the Battlefront is the Star Wars one.
Yeah, Battlefront Star Wars, yes.
Oh.
A lot of people were complaining because you had to pay all this extra stuff so you can customize your characters, and then sometimes you'd have to pay certain amounts so you could open rare characters. Like, say you want to play as Darth Vader, you had to spend money to get things. Not to mention that some of the times people would go and pay their money to do it, and then someone would hack their shit, and they'd lose their money on that.
Jeez.
Well, I remember, you need to move a little bit closer to the mic. I'm not seeing your waveform come up very much. There we go.
Battlefront, that's famously at this point been the thing that's kind of broke the camel's back, because people are starting to fight against these bullshit practices, but the companies are still trying everything they can.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, what you're going to hear us talk about a lot is going to be shit that you've heard Jim Sterling talk about. I'm probably going to have to put him on the search terms for this video, because a lot of what we're saying is generally, to be fair, it's repeating a lot of what Jim Sterling says. Those of you who don't know, Jim Sterling is a YouTube personality that is much fucking bigger than us, because he's been doing it for years and years.
Probably from the beginning.
And he's better than us.
Yeah, true.
Thank God for him.
Because he's got that very distinctive English accent. I hear he's Australian, but his voice sounds very British to me.
He does sound British.
It's like he may be Australian, but he fucking sounds British. And he lives in like Mississippi or something right now. Which is like a place you wouldn't expect someone that sounds like that to be living.
Yes, one of these days I'm going to try to track him down so I can hug him.
Why does he need a hug?
Maybe. I don't know.
He looks.
I don't know the guy.
He looks highly huggable.
It's the British accent, isn't it?
No, he's fat and fluffy like me.
Well, you look a lot more imposing than he does, because you're that kind of fat that looks like, you could fuck someone up, where he looks that kind of fat where he just likes food. Now, granted, you both look like you like food, but You look like you could truck through an entire crowd of people to get to the buffet line.
And he will follow in my parting of the red people.
Like, a lot of old ladies are going to get trampled, but seriously, they shouldn't have fucking been there if they didn't want to get trampled.
If they wanted the steak fries, they should have fought harder.
Oh, so anyway, but like, Jim Sterling has been spending the last several years going after companies for a lot of bullshit things. And the things that he loves to talk about are microtransactions in AAA games, selling shell games, essentially games that are unfinished and incomplete, and then selling you the rest of the game later on as DLC.
Which happens a lot nowadays.
Yeah. Loot boxes that are just unnecessary cash grabs, Skinner box tactics, using mobile game tactics in modern AAA games. AAA games constantly, like, milking you for every fucking dime and then claiming that it's not enough.
PUBG, Fortnite.
Well, he actually he liked Fortnite, but he says he hasn't been playing it lately, at least in the videos that I've been seeing. But yeah, he got really fucking mad about Destiny. Destiny, he was talking about one thing that we kind of were talking about in the fighting games. Destiny 2 came out, and right out of the gate, Destiny 2 had a lot of features taken out of it from Destiny 1. Like, shit that was in Destiny 1 in the actual, like, regular box version, not the updates, because they updated the first Destiny a lot. And with, like, DLC packs and shit like that. But shit that shipped in the original game disc was not in Destiny 2. But they were advertised as being available in Destiny 2 DLC that was coming out later. It's like, so you're literally selling less of a game than the original one. But because it's the second one, they're not going to be supporting the first one anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I have to wonder, are the servers even still up for the original Destiny?
I imagine if they're still making money off of it, but...
I have to wonder, because, like, they put all their fucking eggs in Destiny 2's basket. I mean, like, it's a Bungie game, and, like, I saw one of his videos recently where he's saying that they're kind of getting bent out of shape because, one of his most recent videos, he said that they're getting... Activision Blizzard was upset because they're disappointed with the sales of Destiny 2. But he's done a lot of videos recently, like in the past couple of weeks that we've been talking about, me and Fats, where they've been saying, like, Call of Duty 4. Activision says it's disappointed with Call of Duty 4's sales because it only made $500 million net profit within the first 3 days of its launch. In 3 days, they only made $500 million. Boo fucking who.
Shit, that's...
And they lost, I think they said, like, almost 10% of their fucking stock value. Like that. Because, like, apparently, and there's a way to explain this. When you look at stock markets, unless a company gives out dividends, the only reason you have to buy stock is for it to mature. You buy a stock low, you wait for the company to grow, and then you sell it high. You buy a stock when it's like $10 a share, you hold on to it, and once the company grows and it's now selling for $40 a share...
And then you sell it.
Yeah, you're selling it for a $30 profit per share. And if you got like 5,000 shares, that's a lot of fucking money. Now, for companies that give out dividends, dividends just means that, say you have like 10 shares of a company, and the shares are $10 a piece, and the dividend is like 10% of the stock. So you're getting 10% of $10 per each stock. So that's like 10% of $10 times 10.
$10.
Yeah, there you go. So, and the thing is like the longer you hold on to it, you're still getting dividends. So it behooves you to hold on to it as long as you can, so long as the money's still giving out dividends. Right. A lot of companies, though, don't do that anymore. From my understanding, I can't say for sure because I don't fucking play the stock market because that requires money that we don't fucking have.
Here's another thing. Sometimes I feel like the market with video games gets oversaturated. Like, we have like 4 Call of Duty games coming out within the year,
Actually, no, they got 1 Call of Duty game per year, but it's like every fucking year, and they're burning people out. It's like, that's another thing that Jim Sterling's talking about, but... no reason we can't. It's like you're listening to us, so you can hear our take on these things. But yeah, it's like Burnout is like, I like Dynasty Warriors. I love Dynasty Warriors. And the games can be kind of similar. is like if I buy a Dynasty Warriors game, am I going to buy the Extreme Legends version, which is like the expanded version? It's buying like say Dynasty Warriors 8, and then you buy Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends. It's kind of like the difference between buying Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Is like because it's not just the Champion Edition; it's got more than that. Yeah. Is it worth buying? Depends on what it's got. If it's got a lot of extra shit, then yeah, I'll buy it. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to wait for the next Dynasty Warriors game, like Dynasty Warriors 9. Yes. Except for Dynasty Warriors 9, because that one's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's not really like Dynasty Warriors cuts characters from its game. They just keep piling them on.
Oh, yeah, except for Dynasty Warriors 9. Which is one of the reasons I didn't buy that one.
Yeah, they just keep adding spice to that bucket.
And also, they did that in Dynasty Warriors 6. In Dynasty Warriors 5, they had a shitload of characters. In Dynasty Warriors 6, they reduced the roster to, like... They went from, like, 60-some-odd characters to 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, the full roster was
that's kind of like going from Mortal Kombat Trilogy to Mortal Kombat 4. You have 42 characters, and now you've got 15.
Well, the thing is, like, the total playable characters is 32. So you're going from, like, 60-something to 32. You're cutting the roster in half. But they only had story modes for 12 of them.
That sounds like a rip.
That's lame.
Yeah, it's because they wanted to focus on the special characters and do more in-depth stories. Well, maybe I want a lot of story as opposed to like 12 slightly better stories. Is like, and it was like the first one when they went from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3. You cannot tell me that you can't fit 32 distinct stories in like going from a regular DVD format to a fucking Blu-ray disc. They say that Blu-ray discs can store how much more than a DVD disc?
Oh, apparently a
like,
lot.
Like at least like 10 times the amount of storage data?
Yeah, I've seen horror movie compilations where they put like 10 movies on one Blu-ray, so...
It's like, yeah, you cannot fucking argue that there's not enough space on that fucking PlayStation 3 disc from a PlayStation 2 disc. It's stupid and wrong and bullshit and no. Luckily, when they went to Dynasty Warriors 7, they fucking fixed that. They brought back all the characters that they cropped out, and once again, they added even more. So it was like, great, now I got a reason to play this game again. Awesome.
All that delicious spice.
And a big problem in games nowadays is originality.
Well, I mean, that can be slightly excused because, like, it's the same thing with, like, movies and music. Like, everything's been made. Trying to come up with a brand new idea is like trying to find gold in a gold mine that's already been mined the fuck down to the Earth's core.
Yeah, I mean, like, you take sports games into consideration. All you can really do is update the roster at this point and the graphics. There's not a whole lot you can add to it. But, you know, I mean, that's basically what people who play sports games want, is they just want to keep getting more. That's kind of like me for fighting games, you know. It's like, just keep updating my roster. Yeah, personally, this last Mortal Kombat they came out with, if they just stick to that formula and just keep expanding the roster, I'm set.
Yeah, people go like, I want better graphics. It's like, be thankful you have graphics.
Yeah, I mean,
be thankful we haven't gone back to like the 2D like photo sprites.
Alright, you know, anybody who complains about better graphics needs to play an Atari. That's what we had to cut our teeth on. And you know what? There's Atari games out there that are fucking fun. And, you know, despite their pixely blobs...
They couldn't even make blobs because that would require round. They had pixely blocks.
Yeah. So, just
like, you have fun with your green cube.
So, what's that supposed to be? An alligator.
It looks like a green square to me. It's fucking use your imagination, goddammit.
Well, they got the green right.
The stick character running across and swinging on the vine over an alligator, a crocodile, where the fuck it was.
Yeah, I was like, I was never a big fan of Pitfall. When I was growing up, we didn't have Pitfall. We had Jungle Hunt.
Isn't that the same thing?
It was kind of a rip-off of Pitfall, but it was an arcade style. So, like, it wasn't, like, keep going until the timer runs out. Oh. It was you went through, like, certain levels.
Super Pitfall was kind of fun. For the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I never liked that one either. I rented it, and, like, it just... Like, I didn't like the format.
Yeah, I've played better games, but it was kind of fun.
And I missed that. I missed being able to go rent a game or a movie on a weekend.
You know, that's another thing is, like, other than Redbox, I don't know where you rent video games nowadays. And
Most of the time they get, like, their streaming services, and, like, most of the game companies are,
Gamefly.
Well, it was like Gamefly. I don't even know if Gamefly is still around.
It is.
Most of it's streaming now. Like Xbox and PlayStation, and to an extent Nintendo now have their own like game streaming service. Like Nintendo has their Nintendo Live thing, where you get 5 to 10 like NES games that rotate from month to month. PlayStation has like the PlayStation Now, or I forget what it's called. It's like some sort of like you stream a game directly to your console. And Xbox has something similar too. It's somewhat like a rental system, but you got to have like internet and fast fucking internet for it to work.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the internet we got here in Corpus is bullshit, so you're not going to fucking fly with that.
yeah, well, I know it's not practical, but I miss the days of, like, going through the cartridges and looking at the covers. And
Oh, God,
I
yeah.
miss
Those were the
that
fucking
shit.
good old
Yeah.
days, man. Here we sound like a couple of old dinosaurs, but yes, there was a day when you'd fucking go to the rental store and you'd see like all the boxes or like sometimes they're like Xerox cardboard or something like that with just like the front and back there if they couldn't get the boxes out there, or sometimes it would just be like it was something. You could see the front cover and then you'd see the back of the box.
Bring back Hollywood Video, Blockbuster.
Dude,
Whatever
that's not going to happen. I know that people want it to come back, but there's no fucking way that's ever going to happen again. That time's passed. I know it sucks, but it's past. Like, stuff like Netflix and, like, Hulu and shit. It's
Redbox.
Yeah, it's killed Blockbuster. I mean, no one's going to go across town to a Blockbuster when they can go, like...
To a convenience
like
store.
100 yards from where you live. You can fucking walk to a convenience store that has a Redbox there.
Grab your snacks and head home.
And it's like, you know, like, it doesn't have all the classics. It's like, no, but it has, like, all the new shit. And that's, like, what the majority of people want. People like us that want to go through a catalog of, like, 1,000 or, like, even, like, 100 games, we're fucked because, like, there's no one that's willing to do that anymore.
Yeah, especially, like, when you take video games into consideration. They're so much more expensive than movies that, you know, unlike Redbox, you just can't charge $2 to rent them. You have to charge like $5 and hope that, you know, it comes back in good condition.
Yeah, that was a problem that they had. I know that it was an issue, like a lot of games would get stolen. I remember years ago, back when Blockbuster was still a thing, they had Dragon Ball GT for rent. And this is like back when Dragon Ball Z was airing on TV, and it was the first season. Like, we're like talking about Goku fucking fighting, God, what was his name?
Frieza?
Raditz.
Yeah, Raditz. No, like years before fucking Frieza showed up. Like when he's fucking fighting Raditz, like for the first time.
But wasn't that like in the 80s?
Well, that's when it originally aired in the early 90s. The 80s was the original Dragon Ball.
No, but I mean, Raditz, the same one was in the 80s, dude.
No, it was the early 90s. You can tell by the animation quality.
I'm not sure. I'm not a huge Dragon Ball fan.
Well, anyway, so like that is like, you know, Dragon Ball Z had just started airing, and so Dragon Ball GT. Plus, I had read in a magazine that Dragon Ball GT, the PlayStation game, had this ability where your character would level up based on how you played it. If you just sat there and blocked a lot of hits, your character's defense would level up, and you could tank hits and get like almost no damage to your health bar. If you zipped around a lot, your speed would level up.
So
if
your agility and everything would go up?
Yeah, like your strength, your agility, your total amount of key energy that you could use, like all that stuff leveled up based on how you play. So your character evolved based on your play style. And I thought, well, that sounds fucking cool. I want to play that. And the thing
I'm
is...
going to build up my monkey ass beats.
And so, like, I went to Blockbuster and they said it got rented out, and it turns out it got rented out once and the guy never fucking took it back. So every week every time I would go there and ask, is it back in yet? They say, no, the guy still hasn't brought it. And like a year later, they finally took it off the shelf because they realized the guy was never going to fucking bring the game back. And then they re-released it later on, but it was like an improved version that for some reason they took that part out. Because, yes, like, the part that made it different and interesting, who the fuck needs that? They just turned it into, like, a regular, like, simple arcade-style fighting game where, like, they just added 4 more characters. But because the mechanics were garbage to begin with, they didn't improve the fighting mechanics.
Well, see, I remember playing, what was it? Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And I loved that game. It was fun. The only problem I had was the whole capsule things. Like, different capsules you could do to set up different characters and everything. Me and Tosh would be playing all the time. And Tosh figured out how to set up everything perfectly so he could tank his characters. In fact, he got so good to where, like, he got to get Goku all the way up to Super Saiyan 4 with just a couple of the
Capsules.
And then you just couldn't beat him. Because his level would be so high that 2 or 3 hits and he'd already have his Kai bar all filled all the way up because he just had it set up like that.
Well, since we're talking about fighting games, it's like, I don't know if you'd call this a complaint, but one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of really fucking different fighting games hitting a lot. Some of them are hitting like the PlayStation 4, but and some of them are actually going on the Switch. But I've seen a lot of people playing them like the PC versions, and like one of them is like the SNK tag battles where like all the characters are female characters. They even have like a female version of Terry Bogard, like a gender swapped version, because they wanted Terry Bogard in there, but they needed to make him a chick with boobs, so they just fucking gender swapped him.
Well, I know there was one King of Fighters that was just like the ladies, and the boss was Iori and Drag.
That reminds me of Rumble Roses.
So they might have done that again. Rumble Roses.
It's like, no, this one, like, literally, like, the story is just goofy. It's, like, straight-up anime bullshit. But in this one, the fighting system is completely different. In this one, you have... it's like, the only way to properly damage someone is to hit them with your specials. Like, your regular attacks just build up like a combo meter, but your specials are the only thing that do damage. And as you take more damage and your life bar goes down, your special meter goes up, because you can only perform specials when, like, the meter goes up. So that's also one of the reasons you hit him with a regular attack, because the more damage you do to, or like the more attacks you hit him with, the more you fill up your special meter. And then
doesn't that make more sense than just the other way around?
Well, like it's a risk reward system. Like if you're taking damage, you're getting more special meter, which means you can hit harder with your specials and you can use them a lot more often. But you're doing it at the risk of your life bars going down. Also, the only way to knock out an opponent and score win is to hit them with a special. If you hit them with a regular attack, even when they have no health bar, it does nothing. So you have to hit them with a special.
That's an interesting idea.
It means, like, you know, like literally, like if you keep your health bar full, you can only do one special at a time, and you have to keep waylaying on them with like regular moves, hoping that they don't, like, you know, whittle you down. But like if you got all the special meter, it means that you're at risk of getting knocked out yourself, and you're just one hit away from getting knocked out of the fight. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a big risk-reward system, and it's an interesting concept, but it makes the fights go by really fucking fast. The fights usually don't last any longer than 15 to 30 seconds.
That's too fast, though.
Exactly. And plus, like, it does take a little while for the matches to load up.
But that's stupid to have a build-up like that, because who has that fighting style where you're just pure... I don't know about you, but I don't like to be pure defensive. I'm more offensive. I like to go in for the...
Yeah, like in Mortal Kombat X, my favorite character is Tanya, and I just, you know... I go in for my opponent's throat and I don't let go.
You're like a bulldog. But there's another game I saw where it's like a one-on-one combat with weapons system, kind of like Samurai Shodown. Except in this game, all of the characters have only one hit. It's a little bit like Battle Arena Toshiden, where like if you get hit once with a weapon...
Bushido Blade?
No.
Because that one, you know...
Bushido, that's what it was. Not Battle Arena Toshiden, but like Bushido Blade. It's kind of like Bushido Blade, except like one character has... Like, he moves slower and has a shorter attack than all the other characters, but he can take 2 hits. Because once he gets hit once, his armor comes off. And then he moves faster, but like he's just one hit away from going. Then there's another game I saw where like each character has a health bar that's instead of like a full health bar, it's like pips, and each time you get hit, like depending on how hard you get hit, like a super special move can take like 2 pips away. Like a regular move will just make one of the health pips like blink red, and if you get hit again while it's blinking, then you lose that pip. But like if you manage to like block and defend enough while it's blinking, then it stops blinking and it becomes a full pip again. And like
so it regenerates?
Well, not so much regenerates, it's just like you weaken that health block, and then if you hit him again, you take it away. If you don't hit it again before it stops blinking, then it becomes a full health block again. But like once a health block's taken away, it won't come back. Like the faster characters only have like 3 to 4 health blocks, and like the slower, tankier characters will have like 6 or 7 health blocks.
Because their abilities are different. Because the faster guy will have less because they're so fast. And then
right. It's like it just depends on your playing style. Like if you want like a slow, methodical character, you pick like the character with like lots of pips, and like if you're like all offense, you go with the character that has like can only take 3 hits, but is like really fast. And
what
like,
if you want a balanced character? Could you?
Then you can get fucked. That's what happens.
Speaking of Bushido,
getting fucked.
That too. What I liked about Bushido is that it was kind of realistic because you could use different types of weapons. Like your character could use a claymore. One of them could use one of those larger samurai swords. I forget what they're called. Nodachi. Or a battle axe. They even had the.
But like each character had like a different like weapon, so it's kind of like Soul Calibur in that respect. But like if you didn't get like a killing blow, like if you hit him in the arm, like they'd go like one-handed. If you hit him in both arms, they're just screwed. All they can do is kick. If you hit him in the leg, they'll go down to one knee and like they can.
I've had matches where like only one of my arms was working, so my character's really just rolling around on the ground, flopping their sword. And
I'll hold this fucker in my teeth if I have to.
I've actually won in situations like that, but it's pretty ridiculous,
I remember there was this one level that pissed me off because you had to go through the level and not get hit once to be able to like unlock a character called the Highwayman. And you go through the level and he's special in... you go through the level... And the character you're using is a kind of like ninja who holds his like short sword off to the side and away from his body. And all of his basic attacks, he swipes it like horizontally across his chest. And in the first part of the fight, he's only fighting characters like of an opposing ninja style that use kendo. Which, if you ever seen someone fighting in kendo, they hold their sword up high and above their head, like ready for a downward strike. Now, since parrying is very important in the game, that means that they're ready to deal with high attacks. But since my character is a ninja who attacks attacks across the stomach and chest, I was just wiping these fools out because they got their swords up above their heads. So just run at them and just like 1/2/3/ because they couldn't block my attacks. They're holding the swords above their heads like jackasses. But then you get to like the second phase where you forcibly change to this character called the Highwayman. And you have to defeat this whole level, the rest of the level, as this character. And he has a really wonky fighting style. And he fights characters like the one you were just using. These really fast ninja characters that do quick slashes across the midsection. Which he just sucks at dealing with. And so I would always like go through the first part of the level, which took like 10 minutes, plus like the 3-minute loading time, because this was a PlayStation 1 game. Then go with him, like struggle to go through that fight, and then just get fucking wasted by the last motherfucker. And I'm like, fuck, now I gotta do the whole goddamn thing again. Except you couldn't, because that was like the third level in the story mode, and the only way to get back to that part is to go through the story mode again.
Another thing pisses me off is memory. On the newer systems?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I especially hate when you're essentially buying a CD that's blank except for the key, and then you download the whole game into your system. It's like, no, I bought the disc so I could play it off the fucking disc. If I wanted to download it, I would have downloaded it.
It's like seriously, that shit needs to stop. This is something that I've been bitching about since the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 came out. The Xbox 360 wasn't too bad because there's a lot of games on the Xbox 360 that you didn't need to download. There's a few games on the PlayStation 3, but there weren't as many. Is like with the Xbox 360, I only had the 20 gigabyte hard drive, and I was still able to like play a lot of games that didn't require a lot of download installation. But I mean, the PlayStation 3, I mean, fuck, Metal Gear Solid 4. Like the PlayStation 3 I had was a 60 gigabyte hard drive game, and you need 6 gigs. No. It was not 6 gigs, 10 gigs. 10 gigs to install Metal Gear Solid 4. That was 1/6 of my fucking hard drive space. That is not cool.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not a PC gamer.
It's like I have a PC. If I want to do that shit with my PC games, or with my PC games, when I have to get it on the fucking console, it means I want it for the fucking console!
Well, see, my thing is, you know, why am I going to have a need for so much memory for one game? What I liked about having a hard copy is I didn't need all that extra information saved onto the hard drive because it's all encased in the game.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do I need to have this memory on the thing? The only thing that this memory should be is for, like...
saves and downloadable content.
That's it.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm dreading the day that I decide to buy a classic game that's actually supposed to be downloadable that they've already killed the servers to, so I'm just buying a fuck-all disc.
Yeah, that's something that Ross, the guy who does Accursed Farms, known for doing Freeman's Mind and Ross's Game Dungeon, that's something he's complained about a lot. He's done a lot of videos where he does, like, games... He does a lot of videos on retro games, and some of his favorite ones are games that are considered dead. And by that, I mean that games that require that you link up to a server, and once the servers go down, you are fucked. Games such as that include like some of the Need for Speed games on the PC, Burnout Paradise on the PC, except they recently re-released that game with like a new updated version, which the only reason people got it was because this version had servers again. Like a lot of like... of MMO games, like, God, what was it? It wasn't The Evil Within, it was this one fucking game, I can't remember it, but it was like this kind of like you play as like people who see like demons that everyone else doesn't. Games like Spore. Spore's a game that I got. And like I'm wondering when that's going to go down because Dark Spore, which was like the Diablo clone version of that game, the servers went down. So you can't even fucking play that if you buy it. If you got a disc version of that, you're fucked. And like, oh yeah, that SimCity that pissed everyone off because like they said like, oh, it needs to be on the server because the game's so big, and then they found out that no, it downloads like fucking 20 gigs worth of game on your hard drive, and the only thing it gets from the server is a key that says that it's a legitimate copy. That's a big fucking pain in the ass. It's their version of copy protection. That's one of the whole reasons they do it. It's not that they need to have the servers there for you to play the game. The only thing they're doing is they're making sure that you don't have like a pirated version of that game. So they make it so that the game doesn't function unless it hooks up to a server that lets it work. And there's ways to get around it in some games, but companies have gotten wise to that and have made it to where like important parts of the game aren't even in the install. It has to download those each and every fucking time you play from the servers. So when the servers go down, the game's straight up unplayable, even if it's a single player game.
Yeah.
Like with that SimCity one. There's like a very important part of the code that like it has to stream, like it has to download stream from the servers of EA in order for it to fucking work. And if it can't get that, it's unplayable. The vital part of the code is not in the game disc. It's an incomplete fucking game. And that's just fucking stupid. It's in-fucking-excusable. If you buy a game, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to play it 5 or 10 years down the road. Imagine if that was the shit with everything. Like, you wanted to go back and play your Atari, and you fucking couldn't because the servers are down. Or your fucking Nintendo. Or your Super Nintendo. Or your Sega Genesis. Or any fucking classic game console.
Well, you know what the problem with those is now? Is they don't have the connections for it. No more AVs or anything. It's all the...
Now, luckily, there's people that, like, you know, that make third-party shit that you can do that with. There's a lot of converters that they have. I've seen, like, James Rolfe and Mike Matei. They buy a lot of these converters.
And then, like, you know, old light gun games, you weren't able to play them on modern TVs, but people have made, you know, gun accessories for old video games that will work on a modern flat screen. So
luckily, there's not a whole lot of like light gun games that like I missed.
Yeah, well, like there's for people who are completionists with like the Nintendo, they're essentially buying dead cartridges if they don't have an old CRTV or that modern accessory.
True.
I like Duck Hunt. I'll always fucking play Duck Hunt.
I don't know if you ever played Bayou Billy, but the
Bayou.
that game's damn near impossible without a light gun. I've done it, but
I've never even heard of
the
that.
The beat 'em up parts are like hard enough to deal with.
Try to do the shooting part with the control. Ugh.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy were like one of those games where I never played it. I never knew anyone that played it, but apparently it was one of the most popular games.
It's kind of like Double Dragon, Rad Racer, and like Punisher's shooting sections. And it's just like the hardest combination of those three games.
Like is like a lot of people know it for being just hard as a coffin nail because the Adventures of Bayou Billy, the first part that you play, it's like a beat 'em up game, like Double Dragon. The only problem is that every single enemy you fight is just as strong and has just as big of a life bar as you do.
Sometimes bigger.
Yeah.
Like if they're pale colored, they're as strong as you. If they're dark colored, they are probably about twice as strong as you.
Which means that literally every guy you fight has the same size health bar as you. So if you're taking one hit for every time you hit him once, then the second guy you fight, you're dead. So you had to be really fucking good. Plus, there's like bits in the level that you have to take damage. There's like no way you can avoid taking a hit.
So there's no way to revert. There's no health ups in that.
Oh no, you can find like I think it's chicken legs in that game.
Yeah, but of course it just feels like a couple of pips of health and like you know. So you got to be really fucking good to get past that part. Then you go through the light gun section, which is like it's kind of like playing Cobalt or Operation Wolf. But like it's really fucking hard. It's about as hard as the side-scrolling beat 'em up section is. And then the final section is like a Rad Racer style like racing game with like you have to shoot
your Jeep and you have to shoot the other cars.
Yeah, you have to shoot the other cars with machine guns and you have to throw grenades at the helicopters that come down from above.
That sounds like it's overly complicated to be overly complicated.
No, they just like basically wanted you to have variety throughout the levels.
But it also wanted to fucking like make it where like you couldn't beat this game unless you were really fucking good.
I almost beat it. I got to the last boss of the last level, but then I had to send the game back because it was just a rental.
Yes, nothing like, you know, like fucking, like when you rented games back in the day and you were playing them, it was like fucking homework. You had to get that shit done before that game went back. You had 2 days to get that shit done.
Saturday to Sunday, and that was it.
And I would just like to let out a warm fuck you to Mylon's secret castle.
Now that would be something shit we hate about old games. But going back to modern games is like going back to the hard drive thing is like every time I go to the game store and I'm buying a new game for my PlayStation 4. Or, and I'd imagine, like, if you got an Xbox One, it's the same story. You look at the back of the box to see how much of my fucking hard drive is this stupid fucking game going to eat. It's like, oh, this game only takes 30 gigs. Only 30 gigs. It's like, that's the fucking storage capacity of a Blu-ray disc. That means I gotta download the whole fucking game. And it's just like Fats was saying a little while ago. It's just a matter of, if you gotta install the whole fucking disc into the hard drive, then what's the fucking point? Don't have a physical release. Just make it a download-only game. Because what's the point of buying a physical copy if it's just gonna take up space in your hard drive anyway?
Right, that's the point of buying the fucking disc.
And then, like, another problem I have is the idea of the day one patch. And sometimes the day one patch requires more fucking install than the game. I've had fucking day one patches that I've had to install for games that you put it in, and like a lot of these is like, oh, you just got home with your brand new copy of fucking God of War, the new one for the PlayStation 4. Before you can even get the fucker to work,
you have to have a patch.
You got to download a 5 gigabyte fucking patch. That takes forever. You remember the days when you bought a game and you put it in your system and you could actually play it?
See, the only good thing about my Xbox One that I have right now, it's a terabyte. So there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to fill everything up.
Oh, you say that now.
No. It should not be possible for me to do. But, again, I look at my system now. I have 3 games on there, and it took about 10% of it. And I actually own, like, maybe 2 actual physical copies of games.
Yeesh.
I hate downloading games because, like, one is like the only thing I can think about is like, allowing a game that downloads itself completely onto your hard drive and still having the physical is the idea of not being able to fucking download the game again. Because that was an issue that people experienced with Konami. On the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, you used to be able to buy on the Xbox Live Marketplace and the PlayStation Store, you used to be able to buy the X-Men arcade game and the Simpsons arcade game. You cannot buy those anymore. If you did not buy those and install them into your hard drive, you are fucked. Because even if you bought the game, you cannot download it again.
Because it's not backward compatible anymore, right?
No.
Well, no,
they took them down from the marketplace.
Why did you do that?
Because Konami.
Because Konami
they don't
is
want
Konami.
to make. Because they don't want to make their money, or what?
Konami doesn't seem to understand how to please customers. They're very confused on this concept.
But
I think the
Konami has
reason
some of the
is
best games, though.
I think the reason for it was because Konami only had like a certain amount of time for the copyright for The Simpsons and for Marvel's X-Men, which like once it ran out, I guess like they didn't want to bother renewing the copyright, so instead they just took the games down off the marketplace.
Yeah.
So those games. Like I said, unless you downloaded them originally onto your Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 hard drive, you cannot play them. If for something happens to your hard drive and like it gets fried and you have to get another hard drive, even if you sync up your account and you've already bought the game, you can't download it again. There's no option to do that. Which is bullshit. I fucking bought a copy of Fallout 1 and 2 from GOG.com. Which, if you're not familiar, those listening, it's a website it stands for goodoldgames.com. Now, they sell a lot of modern games now. They're almost like Steam, but originally their idea was that they sold old PC games that were unsupported, and they sold them on the cheap. You could get a lot of really good games, like the original 2 Dungeon Keepers, the first 2 Fallouts, like the old, Icewind Dale games, the fucking Neverwinter Nights games, like a lot of really old, really good PC games that just don't work on PCs anymore. You could buy them there. They were all modified to work on modern computers. Because if you have a disc version of Fallout and you install it into a Windows 10, it's not going to fucking work. Your Windows isn't going to know what the fuck to do with it because it's so old. You get it off of GOG and it's specifically designed to work on new computers. Plus, you get all kinds of cool stuff, and this isn't a paid promotion, but I love the fucking service, so I'm willing to shill for them without any type of money. You get, like, free shit. Like, sometimes you'll get free desktop backgrounds, free icons for, like, chat things, free artwork. most of them come with like instruction manual scans and even cheat sheets with like hot button stuff on there. And I know that Fallout even came with the Fallout Bible, which was a special information pack that was written by the original creators. It has a lot of shit that talks about the lore of the games that was never revealed to the public. Now, for a while, they had lost their license to sell the game on GOG. I think Steam swooped in and bought it out from under them. So they were not legally allowed to sell Fallout anymore. But if you had already bought it off of their system, the server still had it. So they say that only people who had originally bought it, if for some reason you need to re-download it, you can. They kept it on the servers, even though they weren't selling it anymore. That is how you fucking take care of your customers. That's how you fucking do it. Because you've already bought the game. They fucking know that. It's like you own it. It's like just because they can't sell it to anyone new doesn't mean they gotta fuck over the people who already bought it. Because that's bullshit.
Keep your customers happy.
Exactly. How fucking hard is that?
Well, like a lot of video game companies, they don't like the idea of people owning their products. They like the idea of leasing, and I just think, fuck you. I buy a toaster, I get to make toast with it or stuff butter in it whenever the fuck I want to, until I'm done with it.
And that's the way a video game should be?
Yeah.
It's like people forget that when the Xbox One was coming out, there was 3 stipulations. This is one of the reasons why I won't buy an Xbox One or a One S or a One XL or whatever the fuck they're going to call the next goddamn iteration of it. It's because they had 3 stipulations, and when you go through the user end term use agreement, or that stupid thing that you have to read, agree to, otherwise your system doesn't fucking work, it tells you at any point in time that if you sign this, you give up your ability to take any type of legal action in the future by agreeing. Those 3 stipulations were: A, this system will not work unless you have a Xbox Kinect attached to it. Yes, that's originally the way they were designed to be. If you didn't have the Kinect, it would not work. Period.
Why the fuck would I want to buy Kinect? I don't like that shit.
1, because you have to buy it, and that's more money they get from you. 2, they found out that these things were going to be set up so that they would actually watch you. And they would see everything that you were doing and everything in your room. The idea was if you're playing in your bedroom, it looks at your room and sees what's in it. See what kind of posters you have. See what kind of books you have. What kind of video games you have.
So they can figure out what kind of demographic they had.
Exactly, and then they sell that information to other companies. They found out that smart TVs were doing the same thing. Smart TVs actually fucking watch you back. They were talking about that years ago. That was a year or 2 ago they found out about that. 2, it always has to be online. Always has to be online. If you are offline, the system does not fucking work. Period. That goes in the Kinect thing, because it wants to make sure it keeps tabs on what you're doing, what you're playing, and when you're playing it. Number 3, you can only play new games. Used games do not work. If you buy a used game, you have to buy a special license, which generally costs about as much as the game itself, to allow you to play it. And if you take a game that you own and take it to someone else's Xbox One, like you say you got a next door neighbor, you want to take over your new game over there, it's not going to fucking work. Because it's licensed to your console and your profile only. It also means that if you try playing a game on the same console but you're using a different gamer profile, it's also not going to work.
Are you sure about that one?
That was what they wanted to do.
Well, those are the 3 things. And the general feedback was horrible. I mean,
I would tell you, fuck you, you can keep your system.
Now, that's one of the reasons I haven't bought a modern Xbox, is even though they retcon that stuff due to customer feedback, it's what they want to do. That's their end goal. They're going to try to sneak it in.
And like I said, that that agreement thing that you have to agree to when you power on the system for the first time, if you read through all the fine print, that's what it fucking says. It says at any point in the future, it says that if fucking tomorrow, November 11th, 2018, if they decide they want to fucking flip a switch, your Xbox will have all 3 of those stipulations click on. And by clicking I agree on that user license agreement, you give up all ability to refund your console, to even publicly complain about it. They can sue you if they wanted to. That's how it's written in there. And you agree to it. Because if you don't agree to it, your system doesn't work. Because if you say, I don't agree, it will keep asking you to agree, or you can't get your console to work. Period. So yeah, at any point when they want to flip that switch, all 3 of those stipulations are going to kick on, and there ain't shit all you can do about it.
Well, I guess I just have a giant brick in my room.
Well, what I would do
is like it's a brick. It's like a Schrodinger's brick. It may or may not do that.
You know, they try to pull that shit with me. I'm going to start playing naked. They're going to have to look at my balls every day while I play Pac-Man.
But just the idea of why the fuck did Microsoft think this was ever a good idea?
Well, I can understand why they think it was a good idea. I just don't understand why they were promoting the idea, you know, trying to get people excited about these ideas. You know, they should have just tried to sneak it in. And because Xbox players, you know, sorry to y'all out there, but, you know, a lot of people like the Xbox for the sake of the Xbox, it seems like.
Now, when it came to the last generation, the console I had the most games on, or have the most games on, because I still have it, is the Xbox 360. It's because it was the only one I could afford, because when the PlayStation 3 first came out, the price was just obscene. And I do got to say that they kind of dropped the ball on the price. Now, I did pick up a PlayStation 3 eventually, but it was like 2 years or longer after I'd already had my Xbox 360. So I've got a lot more playtime on my Xbox 360. I will say that. The Xbox 360 was to the PlayStation 3 what the PlayStation 2 was to the original Xbox. It was the workhorse, you know?
Yeah.
So I will say that. But the thing is like most of the people I know who are like diehard Xbox fans, they really aren't so much a fan of the Xbox as they are like a fan of Gears of War or Halo. They're not attached to the console. They're attached to a particular game franchise on said console. Now, would you say that's true about you?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I probably have the Xbox is because of the Gears.
Well, there you go. It's like a lot of people I know who have like that been sticking with Sony. It's because like, you know, Sony won them over with the PlayStation 2 or even the PlayStation 1 if you want to go back that far. And they've been sticking with the console because it's not the games. It's not one brand of games that they stick with. It's like all the games that you can get on the console.
But again,
at least for me, with my my loyalty to the PlayStation, they tend to get the best fighting games, and like even ones that multiple systems get, they tend to get the better version of it. Like if you take Mortal Kombat 9 into consideration, they're the only ones that had Kratos. They're the only ones that had the extra character. Everybody else, they had the basics of the game. PlayStation had just that little bit more.
I don't like that exclusivity bullshit. Like,
I don't care for it either. You know, if you're going to make Kratos a playable character, fuck it. Put him on the Nintendo and the Xbox as well.
Yeah, why would you do that?
You know, I remember
it's because like the company's gonna like pay extra money because they don't want you to play it on the Switch. They don't want you to play it on the Xbox One. They want you to play it on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah. Like I remember when I think it was Soul Calibur 3 came out. It was either Soul Calibur 2 or 3. The PlayStation got Heihachi from the Tekken series. Xbox got Spawn, and Nintendo got Link. And
if you got the PlayStation version, you felt screwed.
I actually liked it, because Spawn didn't look right, and neither did Link. He didn't look like he belonged in the game. Now, Link was probably the best of those characters,
Because he was probably the only one that had proper projectile attacks with his bow and arrow and his boomerang.
Well, he was broken.
My one question is...
Well, like, he had this one throw that was real easy to pull off and you could easily ring out someone with. And he had so many good ways to defend and get in close to do that throw. You could just tank that through the game.
But what were you going to say, Gonzo?
I was going to say... So...
But
let's talk about the systems, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation and Xbox, they've been the two major systems for the last 10 years, right?
Well, one can argue that the Wii was in a lot of fucking homes. I mean, like...
With Nintendo, it's kind of hard to think of them as competing with the other systems simply because
they don't try to.
Yeah, the Nintendo does their own thing at this point. They have very few games that actually cross the board that I can think of.
And now with the Switch, like, you know, they're really in a league of their own, because not only can they do like a lot of motion sensitive games with like their Joy-Cons, I think is what they're called now. Yeah. It's kind of like it replaces the Wiimote and the Nunchuck. So they can do a lot of shit that the other consoles can't. Now granted, both Xbox, does Xbox have like motion sensitive on its controller?
They do have a type of motion sensitive controller, but most PlayStation and Xbox kind of like dropped that.
Well, I mean, like, you can still do the motion sensitive stuff on like a PlayStation controller. I know that, like, it's still not a lot of games use it.
I don't think Xbox does at all.
It's like, I think like the old one was just like you had to have the fucking Kinect for it to work, and a lot of people just didn't like that. But I think PlayStation kind of still has like some motion sensitivity with its controller, though. Like, most games don't bother with it. But like Nintendo is like, it still goes whole hog on it because like they're the ones that brought it in, they're the ones that perfected it. But with an interactive screen, the screen itself is also motion sensitive. And well, actually, I don't know if that's the case because like it's just going to read the Joy-Cons attached to it because the screen itself doesn't work without both the Joy-Cons like fucking plugged into the damn thing. But it also has the fact that it's portable. So now everyone's buying the same games they've had for years on like the Xbox and the PlayStation, like your fucking Elder Scrolls and your Diablo 3 and shit like that. But they got it with their Switch because now they can play it almost like a fucking portable console. Because, like, you know, people have said, like, you know, well, I'm buying Elder Scrolls for the 11th fucking time. Or not Elder Scrolls, but Skyrim for the 11th fucking time, because now I can play it on the go for the first time.
I can play it at McDonald's.
Assuming you, like, enjoy your 1 hour of playtime before the battery goes to shit.
You can get plenty of salt and ketchup in the controls in that time.
But doesn't that system need Wi-Fi?
No. You can play it offline.
Not to play a game, yeah.
No, it does. And the thing is like most of its games don't require install, which means you can fucking do it. You can fucking make a game that doesn't have to download into the fucking system for it to fucking work. Ugh. Pisses me off so bad. I fucking hate that. I so fucking hate that. I fucking hate having to decide what games am I going to be playing in the foreseeable future, because then I gotta fucking uninstall the shit that's taking up all my goddamn hard drive space. It's like, guess what? If I'm gonna play Battlefield, what was it? 4.
Battlefield new.
Well, like Battlefield 4, which was like the last one that they had done in a modern setting. If I want to play Battlefield 4, I have to fucking really commit, because that game takes up like 20 gigs. And then with all the fucking downloadable content that a friend of mine bought for me so that we could all play like all the maps together, that's like another 40 some odd fucking gigs. That's a lot of fucking hard drive space. That's almost 100 gigs. And like, I bought the PlayStation 4 when it first came out, so I didn't get the 1 terabyte. I got the 500 gigabyte one. And my dumbass is thinking, oh, well, 500 gigabytes is like a lot more than 60. I'm not going to need to deal with this for a while. And then like 3 fucking months later...
Yeah, the PlayStation said, hold my beer.
It's like, oh, you got 500 gigabytes. That's cute. You think that's enough space. Well, we're going to fix that.
Well, see, I kind of love and hate that you can download and thing, because the thing is, sometimes I want a new game. So... I can trade it in and not have to worry about losing the gameplay and stuff like that. Like, for instance, I have the Arkham Knight
game.
Yeah.
I have the whole thing downloaded on my system. But the reason I have it downloaded like that is because I could play that game forever. I'm never going to get bored of playing that game. Now, granted, there's other games that I have on my system that I'll look at it and I'll be like, I'm never going to play that shit again. And I'll
Well, that's
delete
like, once again, that's like a thing about downloading a game off of the marketplace. But if you have a physical copy of that game, you shouldn't have to fucking have 30 some odd gigs of space chewed up in your fucking hard drive.
If you have 30 gigs devoted to a game, it should be for a shitload of downloadable content, not to play the game.
Well,
Yeah, and then the thing is, what I want to fucking know is, every time I get an update for like a game that I haven't been playing for a while, like say if I get a fucking update for a game that I haven't played in like a year.
or you don't actually have the game.
Or anymore, yeah, like that, but it's still like installed. Or like the game, or like your system's like, oh, a new game came out for this game that you used to play a lot of. And the install's like the update's like 5 fucking gigs.
But you can't decline that shit?
No, it just automatically downloads it. And it'll do it like when the system's in standby as well. It's made so that like when the system's in standby mode, it just automatically downloads shit so that you don't have to worry about it chewing up your bandwidth while you got the system on and you're playing online. Like, for instance, if you're playing, like, an online shooter, like Black Ops 4, do you want it to suddenly say, hey, we found a new update for, like, your Dynasty Warriors 9 game. We're just going to go ahead and download that shit right now. And then all of a sudden you start chugging because all your bandwidth is going towards the download and not the game that you're fucking playing.
Yeah. I think there's a way you can set that shit up to where you can.
Well, you can pause it, but
Well,
then
that's not what I'm saying. I mean, there should be a setting where you could say, well, you only download games when I'm on standby or like when I'm not playing.
There might be something like that, but I haven't found it yet personally.
Because I know on my system, it always asks me.
Do you want to download this update? Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't ask me that. It might be a setting, because my question is, when it downloads like these big fucking gigabyte plus updates, does that also get deleted when I delete the install for the game? Or is it still going to be chewing up hard drive space? Because one thing I've noticed, even if I delete all of the install from all of my games, there's still a good chunk of the hard drive that's being chewed up by something, and I can't tell what it is.
Well, see,
Now I know a chunk of the hard drive is going to be used up by the operating system, just like a regular computer. But does it have to re-download all the fucking updates whenever I reinstall a game? Or does that just stay in my hard drive and use up all my fucking space?
You have to, every time when you take your game out or whatever, you delete the thing. When you upload it again, it has to go through all that bullshit again, which you shouldn't have to. Now, say you uninstall the game or whatever, that's a different story.
Yeah, she is like I haven't played this game and don't plan on playing it for a long time. Like when I want to fucking play it again, I'll just reinstall it later.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to have that solid still information there and it get updated all the time if you're not using it. I don't understand why would it do that?
Well, the thing is, I don't know, because like I said, like sometimes it seems that even when I delete all this like install to try to free up space in my hard drive, it seems that there's still like a lot of fucking space chewed up by something, and it's not telling me what it is. I hope it's not a fucking virus, because I do know that there's like a fucking web browser system, like on the PlayStation, that I use sometimes.
Well, that's another good question. Do your console systems that are connected to the internet, do they have a firewall? Do they have something to protect you from people?
No, I do. I used to talk to this guy who liked to crack codes on stuff, and he said that one of the things that he thought was odd about the PlayStation 3, because this was before the PlayStation 4 came out, was that the operating system, considering that it was all done in Japanese, it was very odd. So it wasn't that viruses couldn't get through it, is that an average virus wouldn't be specifically designed to attack its operating system, because the operating system's so wonky. Because it's done all in it's not just the language is Japanese, but it's done in a different style. Like, a Western developed operating system is going to be different from one that's developed entirely in Japan. Just because it's like different modes of thought, different styles of programming. And he said that like he tried cracking the PlayStation 3. He says he could if he had enough time and effort, but he didn't like have a reason to. He didn't plan on it. So he said like it would just take longer because of just how different the operating system was. He says now on an Xbox 360 it was fucking easy because the operating system was very similar to like a computer because it's fucking Microsoft. They make operating systems all the time. So they just use that same style when they're programming the operating system for the 360.
Yeah, and that's why you can connect your computer to your console now.
Stuff like that. But let's see, what else? What else do we got that pisses us off about modern games? We kind of touched on the fact that we hate when we buy new games that we can't play them right away without getting the stupid fucking update.
I miss that most games nowadays don't seem as fun as the old ones.
Well, I don't know if that's so much them or us.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of rose-tinted glasses there.
It's like back in the day, we would play some shit. And like we thought it was like the bee's fucking knees, and it fucking wasn't. I mean, I've gone back to some games that I used to love as kids, and I was like, God, this shit sucks now.
Yeah, I've got both of those Nintendo and the Super Nintendo Classic Minis. And there are a few games on there that it's just like, wow, this was fun.
Was this fun? Or did I just, like when I was a kid, did I fall off a lot of high places and land on my head a bunch? And just like, I thought it was fun because of severe, like, skull trauma.
So you're telling me none of the Mario games are fun stuff?
Oh, no, I mean, it's just like, there's a lot of games that, like, I can go back and say I still like them, but there's even more games that I can go back and wonder how the fuck did I like them at all.
I mean, I guess it was better than going outside.
I mean, there's some really good games that I enjoy now that you couldn't make back in the day. Like the Disgaea series, I fucking love Disgaea games. But those games are like, they got so much running under the hood, there's no way you could have made that back on the Super Nintendo. It's just impossible. There's too much fucking number crunching going on in there. Hell, I don't even know if you could do that properly on the PlayStation 1, for that matter.
Yeah, probably not.
But in terms of games nowadays, a lot of games feel more formulaic, and I think that has to do with the ways that companies like Jim Sterling, once again, he's talked about this, that a lot of companies like Ubisoft, EA Games, and Activision, they don't want to make games anymore. They want to make what they call live services, which is the idea of they want to turn single-player games into MMOs. They want you to buy a single-player game, and they want you to keep playing the single-player game for years and years, so that they can keep you buying microtransactions and keep you buying DLC content so that you spend like $500 on a $60 game.
So basically they want to create addicts.
Exactly. But at the same time, they're still putting out games like every single fucking year. Like how many open world games has Ubisoft put out this year alone?
3?
At least. You've had the new what is it, Assassin's Creed, Odyssey. You've got Far Cry 5. That was earlier this year. Anything else?
I don't know. I haven't been able to keep up with them because of my health.
Like, yeah, and like they want you to play all these games and keep buying the downloadable content and the microtransactions and the DLC and shit like that. Like games like Overwatch. Overwatch is like they want you to spend fucking money on their loot boxes. Overwatch has been out for a couple of years now, and they want you to keep playing that shit. Hell, they just announced a new character.
You know what's the fucked up part about that is, what if I don't want to play online? What if I just want to play a story mode single player without having to help with anybody
Well,
else?
those are fucking dying out. It seems like the only ones that are doing single player content that's offline anymore are indie game developers like Toby Fox, who did like fucking Undertale. That was a huge fucking hit. And there's a lot of like PC exclusive like independent games that are really good. Another game example would be fucking like the Five Nights at Freddy's series. You can argue that those games are really fucking simple, and in truth they are, but they're single player experiences, and you don't fucking have to be online to play the goddamn things. And
I'm sorry, I like to be antisocial sometimes. Sometimes I just want to be by myself.
Or sometimes your internet's fucking down.
Yeah.
You remember back in the day when, like, if you were, like, at home and the fucking cable was out and you couldn't watch cartoons, what'd you do?
Play video games.
You played fucking video games. Now you can't fucking do that. If, like, your fucking internet's out and, like, it's like, now you watch TV because you can't fucking play your video games anymore.
Or you read.
God forbid.
Yeah,
Now, one of these days, I want to do like a podcast where we actually talk about books, because I actually do a decent amount of reading, or at least I have over the course of my life.
Well, you're gonna have to find a different partner because I don't read books. Got no time for book learning.
Well, see,
Now get off my lawn.
I wouldn't say I'm an avid reader. I read what I like. Like, I have read at least 6 or 7 Stephen King books because I like Stephen King. I'm not one of those people that read all the whatever fucking Twilight bullshit or... You know, I like the Lord of the Rings movies, but I'm not going to sit down and read R.R. Tolkien's books because they don't fascinate me like Stephen
I've
King
read them.
stuff.
They're not bad. But
Well, somebody like once asked me if I read a book, and I asked if it was a D&D manual, and they said no. And I said, well, there's your answer.
Technically, that is a book. It isn't not.
And some of them are really fucking complicated, too.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that's like enough for a podcast, unless, you know, somebody's out there actually just concerned about my review of, you know, Pathfinder Bestiary 3.
I'm sure there's some, but I don't know if they're going to be our core demographic. So far, our core demographic is just people like forced to subscribe.
Yeah.
Forced to subscribe.
Yeah, like more than half of our subscribers are people that just yanked their fucking phones out of their hands.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, made them subscribe. And if they're listening right now, they fucking know who they are.
I'm one of these. Now, well, you know what? To be honest with you, I've jumped on the bandwagon for YouTube later because beforehand I didn't want to. I was stuck in my ways. It was like, why the fuck would I want to watch stuff on the YouTubes, on the computer? I got TV, I got...
Well, because you can watch it on your phone and on your TV. Most of the shit I watch on YouTube, I watch on my PlayStation. With the YouTube app.
Well, I mean, we're just getting started as well. I mean, we're not going to be an overnight success.
And like I keep saying, I've been wanting to do this for like about 11 years now. And it's taken me 11 fucking years to get the equipment and the motivation.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing this 11 years ago, we might explode a little bit faster, but...
Because there weren't a whole lot of people doing this 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Then again, YouTube wasn't really a big thing 11 years ago.
Well, it's a recent thing. It's like...
God, think about that. YouTube didn't really take off until like what, 2006 or 2007?
Yep, that's about right.
Because I know that James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, blew up like back in 2007. That's when he hit YouTube, and his shit took off pretty fast.
Yeah.
But then back then you had the Dark Ages where you had Fred. But before we go and shit on like YouTube channels that, to my knowledge, don't exist anymore.
Yeah, Fred doesn't exist anymore.
Back on the subject. Yeah, it's like that's a problem you get with a lot of like modern games now, where like even the single player games play like fucking online games. They play like MMOs because they just want to get more and more of your money, and that's just not sustainable. It's like you can't. They want you to play a game so much that you're putting money into it. The thing is, if you buy like 20 new games every year, and that's kind of low for a lot of hardcore gamers. I know a lot of hardcore gamers that'll buy 5 games a month.
I buy about 4 or 5 a year.
Well, then again, you're not dripping with money. A lot of
Well,
hardcore
even if
gamers
I was, there's just not a whole lot out there that I want.
Well, you're a very focused gamer. Like, if it's not a fighting game, you don't really play it.
Yeah.
It's like you'll dabble in things that aren't fighting games. Like, I've recently started to get you into the Dynasty Warriors stuff. But,
Well,
like, that's still not your core demographic. For you, that's just a cathartic time waster.
It's kind of like old school beat 'em ups in a way, and I do like those.
But like, yeah, like if someone buys like 20 new games a year, they don't have the time or the energy to go whole hog on 20 fucking games. And they're not going to be playing those 20 fucking games for years to come.
No.
It's like Red Dead Redemption 2 just came out.
And I probably won't play that until about 2 years from now. And the only reason I say that is because it's too damn expensive to pay for it brand new. And then, say, God forbid, someone beats the game in, 2 days and says, I'm done with it. There's no replay value because there hasn't been any DLCs yet. Well,
Oh, you know there's gonna be some fucking DLC
fuck
for
you,
that
because
shit.
they're from the very beginning they're talking about making Red Dead Redemption 2 an open world like
They
Grand
want to
Theft
make it
Auto.
like bigger than Grand Theft Auto 5. That's another thing. Going back to like the Jim Sterling topic, Jim Sterling did a lot of fucking videos on what was it, Take-Two Interactive, which I think which is the parent company, I believe, of Rockstar. I may be wrong. I don't remember. But the problem is that the guy who is like the big head honcho there says that apparently they're making something like 2.5 billion a year net, not gross, but net, just pure profit off of the Grand Theft Auto 5 online. Not even people buying the game or the DLC, but just microtransactions.
Well,
people
can you-
spending
can
the
you
shark
play
cards
it?
and shit like that.
Can you play that game without having the original game, or is that like a download?
No, you need you need to have the original game to play that.
Okay.
Because like it's the other half of the game. It's just like running around the city with your own created character with like a bunch of other people online. Now, the problem with that is that the guy said that he said something to the effect that there's a lot of untapped monetary potential. There's still a lot of wood to chop. And that made Jim Sterling lose his shit because he sees customers as trees, and the ones that aren't cut down yet are the ones that just haven't been cut down yet.
That's stupid. You want your customers to be happy. When your customers are happy, they're willing to pay that.
They don't want their customers to be happy. They want the money. And like Jim Sterling says, and I've said this for years and years, is like I'm surprised that someone else said it, is like if they can have massive amounts of money, but it's not good enough because they don't have all the money. And as long as you have any money, they're not going to be happy because they need all of your money. Every last fucking penny. 99.9% of all the money in the world isn't good enough. They need a full, flat 100%. Otherwise, they need to fucking monetize it more. And that's fucking bullshit. Because, like, if that's the way you're looking at game development, then you're fucked. You're not going to get that kind of money in games. It's like, if you're not happy with, like, over $2 billion in microtransaction sales a year, that's pure fucking profit. Pure profit.
Yeah.
That's subtracting the money they need to keep the servers up, the money they need to keep the developers coming up with new content patches and shit. That's not including the money they're getting from the physical sales of the game or the digital download sales of the game. This is just people spending money to get not real shit in a not real game. Like spending real money to get a helicopter in the game. Or to get a fancy new car in the game. Or to get a new apartment in the game.
Or new boots.
Yeah, it's like, it's not
Holy
real
shit.
shit.
New boots? Goddamn.
So I guess people will spend real world money to get like special costume pieces for their online character. To me, that's just fucking stupid. I'm sorry, if there's something in a game that I can't get without spending real world money, then I'm not gonna fucking get it. I'd rather spend my money on getting new, different games than keeping the piss away money on a game that I've had for like over a year now. And I'm just dumping more and more money into this thing. Because eventually I know I'm going to get bored with it.
So, after a while, it doesn't matter. You will never have replayable value for anything that's no good to you.
To me, pure replayable value comes from a game that you can play it for like 3 months straight, put it down, uninstall it, come back to it like 2 or 3 years later, pick it up, play it for another 3 months. For me, that's a good replay value game. But that's not the kind of replay value that these companies want. Because if that's what you're doing nowadays, you won't even be able to do that in the future. You try to do that with, like, say, Grand Theft Auto 5 in, like, 3 years from now, you're assuming the servers are still going to be up, which they may not be. They may have moved on to Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, the servers might be down now as we speak. They might be getting shut off right now as we speak.
Could be.
Well, like if it depends if they want to fucking go whole hog with like the online play for Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't even know what the hell that's going to be. They want it to be bigger than Grand Theft Auto 5, but I'm wondering like that's a big fucking beast. It's like you're trying to use your new Frankenstein's monster to kill the old one that's grown into a giant fucking titan. And in the end, you're just competing with yourself. And that's fucking dumb. It's like you're going to be cannibalizing money from like one of your own products just to go into a different new product.
So I'm eating my toes.
Or Boris.
It's just, God, it's just, I don't see... And like I was saying earlier, the two most recent things that Jim Sterling was reporting on, not Grand Theft Auto, but Black Ops 4, they're losing stocks because they only made $500 million in the first 3 days. Reason being is that the last Call of Duty game to come out made $540 million in the first 3 days. And because it was short $40 million from the last one, they're seeing a downward trend, so now all the stockbrokers are dumping their money out. And so they don't know what they're going to do because they've literally made the market into this money grubbing, we got to get more, everything needs to have bigger sales projections, more microtransaction money, more pure profit, otherwise it's considered a failure. Just the other day, I saw a video that Jim Sterling put out that says that it's the same story with the other Activision title, Destiny 2. They say that they're not happy with the Destiny 2 sales. So what's their goal? They say they're going to be adding more microtransactions into the game. So you're going to take a game that's losing customers, that's losing player interest, and you're going to shoehorn in more fucking microtransactions, which is just going to exhaust the play base even more? Are you fucking kidding me? You think this is a good idea?
It's not, because they're just going to be driving away their core demographic.
Even more. It's like you got a cow that you've been milking dry, and now it doesn't have any more milk, so now you're just going to start stabbing it and trying to harvest the blood out of it. It's like you're just killing it faster.
Sometimes the goose doesn't have any more golden eggs to lay.
Or sometimes you need to fucking wait for it to lay the golden egg. You can't just cut the fucker open and expect to see a bunch in there. That was the that was the tale of the story. That was the fucking moral. Apparently, these game developing companies don't understand that anymore.
Don't bite the hand that feeds.
Are you kidding, man? Their mouths are all the way to the fucking
I know,
shoulder.
But that's what they should be listening.
I think honestly, and no game developer's going to do this, but honestly, it's like, if you want to keep the fucking microtransactions in there, for one, I feel, make them a little more honest, but also, they've made it clear that the sale of the game itself is not where the profit's at. So go ahead and fucking drop the price back down to $45.
Yeah, right.
So many more people would buy more games if they were affordable right off the bat.
And it's like if they want to fucking make these games into glorified $60 mobile games with the same fucking monetary system as a mobile game, fucking make the games free. Fucking make the games free. Because you've already made it very fucking clear that you're not getting your money from the sales. You don't give a shit about the sales anymore. All you care about is the microtransactions. Because that's where the money is. The sales of the physical copies are all about breaking even with the development cost. And projecting how much money that they're going to get from microtransactions. It's not even to say how successful the game is. It's just how much fucking money are they going to put into development of all the loot boxes and the trading cards and the stat upgrades and new weapons and new character skins that they're going to do. If it sells poorly, then they're not going to invest the time and effort to make all this DLC and shit. If the game sells well, then they're just going to keep plugging all this fucking microtransaction shit into there. So just release the games for free. That way, everyone fucking gets it. So you can fucking hawk your microtransaction bullshit to everybody. And then you'll actually get some faith back from your customer base. Because they're going to feel like they're getting something for free when you're really just like giving it to them free on the back end, but you're yanking the money out of their wallet like a fucking drug dealer. Because remember, the first taste is always free. But anyway, I think that's enough for right now because I'm running out of breath.
One thing I hate about modern games, there's not one where it's wrestlers versus dinosaurs.
I'd play that.
I'd pay for microtransactions and that.
One of these days, I'm going to have to come up with a list of like some of the craziest fucking indie games I've ever seen, and we're going to have to talk about them.
Or like video game ideas we've had, because everybody's had a video game idea as a child.
Oh yeah, but some of my video games ideas sound like they'd make actually pretty good, like either Disgaea-style grindaholic games or like Paradox games, like Victoria Empire Under the Sun, or fucking, or like Galactic Civilizations. Shit
I always
like that.
thought of fighting games, my personal self.
Yeah, I wanted to make a couple fighting games.
Well, we need to come up with some ideas for that conversation. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and call it for right now. We're already an hour and 40 in. But hopefully you guys enjoyed us yelling about shit that we get pissed off about. And hopefully you guys will come back for the next bit of yelling. Well, why do you think they call me that?
I never said nothing. I'm just saying. I'm just stating a fact that it's mostly you yelling.
I just wish they'd quit calling me fat.
Shut up, you love it and you know it.
Fuck you and the mother you wrote in on.
You mean yours?
Oh.
Now, bear in mind, my mom's just a little shorter than me and has less beard. Otherwise, we could be a pass for twins.
Wow.
I'll try to scrub that out of my brain with some bleach tonight. And in the meantime, all of
So
you
you're
guys...
an uber dwarf then.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, all you guys out there, those of you who are, stay fat and stay angry. Or stay gonzo.